Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hello. You're braving the cold to do a webinar.
Yep, it's all good.
Okay.
Thought I'd get some fresh air.
Right.
Been inside long enough.
Great. I guess that's one of the advantages of working on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of take it with you.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll get going shortly in about 2 minutes or so. Well, good to see everyone here. Hello, hello.
Mm-hmm.
All over the map. That's awesome. Yeah, sorry about the sleep webinar tonight, but we have a really cool topic, I think, that we're going to dive into. Nicholas is like the new look.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Got the sunglasses.
I might do more of these. Yeah, there we go. You can see my eyes now. My glasses go dark automatically with the light. So
right. Next thing you know, you'll be doing it from your bicycle with a little like camera on the thing.
Well, funny thing is, I nearly did that tonight. It's like, oops, all right.
Well, I'm glad that you could join us. Yeah. So yeah, we will get started. We got a good crowd here tonight. That's great. So welcome to our Monday night webinar. And well, before I start, I'll just turn it to you, Mark.
Oh, okay then. Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody. We had to change the topic a bit tonight. Chris Thomas, our sleep guy, was otherwise engaged. And so Madeline deftly added this or put this in, I think, which is great. And it really does build upon what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks with reframing pain. So I hope everybody finds it helpful and useful. And we're going to touch a little bit on sort of personality patterns and how they can influence how we perceive and manage pain. But I just want to welcome everybody on behalf of the Bill Nelems Pain and Research Center to everybody, and just a warm welcome on this lovely spring evening. A little bit of wind blowing. And just, housekeeping rules. These are sort of considered a group medical visit, so feel free to express yourself in a safe environment, and there's the usual implied confidentiality. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, for those of you that are in the reframing pain, this is the topic that we actually are looking at tomorrow, but tonight we're going to do more sort of a broader view of how your learned personality patterns unwittingly can help or hinder pain. And so as we move through this class tonight, as I was putting it together, it's something that I talk about, or we talk about a lot in different ways. And I want you to know that we're not talking about traits that that you're born with, that can't be fixed, can't be changed. And you'll see that as we go along. We're talking more about coping strategies that we learn naturally. And in this, there's no, if you're able to spot something about yourself, that's a win. Like that's a win for you tonight. So there's no criticism. There's no blame. And I will say, when you're able to spot something that, you know what that's like when you go, oh my God, I can see myself in that. Mm-hmm. I want you to smile. I want you to just smile at yourself, because it's like, it's almost like when you've caught a child, right? And you're like, I see you, sneaky, like that sneaky personality pattern that gets in there, because it can feel, we learn these patterns when we're young, so it can feel quite serious. And in effect, what I would like you to go away with is maybe some ways to start shifting and changing that. So when you spot it. So I hope that makes sense. Great. Okay. So tonight's class, as I said, is to identify underlying unconscious patterns or characteristics that might be unwittingly keeping you stuck in a stress pain cycle. And with that, what I want you to really realize is that wherever, whatever is keeping you stuck. And it might be simply the pain condition, right? That pain is always real, and it doesn't matter where it's coming from or what's causing it. It's always, it's not like you're making it up or, causing your own pain condition. So we're looking at all factors that might factor into this. So, oh, great. You already spotted one. Hey, Nicole, awesome. We're going to try to do some personality spotting tonight. So before we dive in, I want you to just notice, because this might be a clue of how you're approaching even tonight's class. So again, I've probably said this before. Are you moving forward? Are you anxiously taking notes? And there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just information. Or are you more skeptical, like, oh, I don't know about this? Or are you kind of laid back in a receiving mode? So just notice how you are right now. And it's always really interesting just to see what it's like to take it a different way. So sometimes when I notice that I'm in a fast walking mode, I might purposefully slow down and just see what it's, nothing wrong with walking fast. Or if I'm in an anxious mode, I might try to move back a little bit. So what we're getting is just a little bit more flexibility in our personalities, right? So we're not as rigid or stuck in one way. Great, Alan's in a listening mood. That's awesome. And okay, so let's start now. So sit comfortably as best as you can tonight. And I invite you to take 2 or 3 deeper, slower breaths. Just in your own time, in your own body, noticing right now, what's your state? What is your state? States change. You might notice, if you're relaxed, receiving, or if you're just trying to transition from the day into the evening. Maybe you're trying to unwind a little bit. Again, it's all just good information to pause and just check in with yourself. And then open up to your surroundings. So open up to your room or the sky, or maybe behind you. And again, we're sort of breaking out of any rigidity, too much. Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you get stuck in focus, you can widen your scope around you. And automatically, your nervous system goes into more of an open, receiving, listening mode. All right. So first of all, I'm just going to dive into what are personality patterns. So a trait is defined, a personality trait is defined as something about a person that impacts how they tend to think, feel, behave on an ongoing basis. So you kind of know, and maybe people, you might know the people around you, or they're kind of like that. Like, so they have these personality traits. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Pat, there might be something on your end with the sound, hey? Just keep me posted if anything changes. Good. And a personality pattern, this is a little bit different. I mean, audio going on and out. That is interesting. You know what? I might and see if that works a little bit better. Some people can hear fine. It might be my earbuds off again. Mark, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
That's funny that it's true for a couple of people.
Yeah, you're a bit louder, more kind of like echoey, but it's fine.
Okay. Oh, Paula says she restarted hers and it's good. So
Okay.
people that were having trouble, maybe just try to restart. And I'm going to put these back on. Okay. Yeah, it's funny just that a couple of people were having that too.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right. Okay. Huh. And a personality pattern. So a pattern is an automatic body-based reaction. So this is a conditioning which you employ to protect yourself from distress when you feel overwhelmed. All good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sounding loud to myself. Okay, so you might already know what you normally tend to do when you are in a stress reaction. But tonight, what we're going to try to do is get a little bit more specific because it's not an easy task. Well, sometimes it's easier than we think to change a pattern, a stress response. But if we can get more and more specific, it gets a little bit easier. So to set this all up though, Mark's just going to talk to us again about pain, just as an always as a
Right.
reminder.
Yeah, the reason we're going to talk about this is obviously looking at how certain personality traits can impact how we perceive pain. But again, pain is a danger signal, and chronic pain or neuroplastic pain is a danger signal that keeps ringing even after the physical injury or the condition is healed. So naturally, we're all wired to seek some form of safety, and this that I'm just going to move the icon. Not to be geared towards safety would be unnatural. It's a very deeply rooted instinct in our survival as humans is to naturally go towards safety. So again, that's why we interpret these pain signals long after the injury is settled down. We can interpret signals as dangerous. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so I think, the point of that is that naturally we are all wired to seek safety, and not to have some kind of pattern would be unnatural. So you might, as you spot yourself tonight,
Yeah.
you'll see that. Okay, so if you're wondering if there are any patterns that might be unwittingly working against you, it might be that you've tried everything to get rid of your pain. You might have tried ignoring your pain, pushing through pain, and maybe it did work for a while. Like it seems like there are times absolutely to have not pay any attention to your pain, or to change your thoughts, or to take on positive thinking. Sometimes that can work for a while. But if you still find yourself in high states of anxiety, worry, or agitation, there might be unconscious survival patterns that might be keeping you stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're acting from a pattern, a conditioned pattern, you are in a stress response. So even if it is what we call a freeze response, so the withdrawal, the numbing, even in that state, you're still emotionally triggered. And you may even feel like a state of alarm, although you may not act like you're alarmed, depending on what your primary pattern is. And so the opposite of being in a pattern or in pattern is actually presence. So presence in this context means one's attention is right here in the here and now, and not governed by thoughts, feelings, patterns, or traumas from the past. So I'll give you an example. If you get, triggered by a red truck going by, or by a tone of voice, or something exacerbates your stress or your pain. And we can go into a protective response that takes us out of the present moment. And this is all normal and natural, and we needed those patterns at one time. But just remember that the opposite of being in pattern is presence. Okay, so just so we all know that we usually are operating from our conscious mind. And the conscious mind is where the work of changing your thoughts, changing how you think about things, the things that we can readily grasp and see, they're very obvious because they're conscious. But you can also see that that is the tip of the iceberg. And underneath here, we have largely at the bottom the unconscious mind. And the unconscious are usually underlying or buried beliefs or emotions that that we've kept either repressed or down below, because it's a lot to integrate everything. So what we're going to try to work with is the pre-conscious. And the pre-conscious is a state that can be converted to conscious. And we're doing this all the time, aren't we? Like even through these classes or something you might notice about yourself where you're like, oh, yeah, I got that. Now I know, maybe why I was doing that or why I was feeling that. So the pre-conscious can be converted up to the conscious. And that's what we're trying to do today. Yeah, so I just want to mention that I've put a link down here if you're interested in it. There were 5 personality patterns that were identified in this book by Dr. Stephen Kessler, and they are the patterns that we actually talk about a lot in various classes at the pain clinic. But he kind of termed them. He named them a different way that I thought might be helpful for people to, because you might see yourself in them. And these are all personality patterns that were developed in childhood or later as a way of coping with overwhelming situations. And let's face it, I mean, pain can be an overwhelming situation. So the first one that he called was a leaving pattern, and that is the flight pattern that we'll get into tonight. The next one he called was the merging pattern, which is a fawn response of the nervous system. The enduring is what I would call the freeze response. So it's like kind of a little bit grin and bear it, like, or numb or withdraw. Those situations that can tend to feel helpless, like there's no other way but to endure. The rigid or perfectionistic personality patterns, and then the aggressive or the fight response. And you might find yourself in a few of these at different times, or even at different times during the day. But even if we can pin down like one particular characteristic tonight that you can start to shift, that would be success. Yeah. That's a good idea. Just gonna go back there. Whoops. This link does not want to, it doesn't want to paste. It doesn't want to copy, I mean.
Was it a video? Like
it's a link to a like a document, like a 2-page article.
Okay.
Yeah, try block. Okay, let's see. What you might want to do is just click on it, and then it'll take you to it, and then copy it from your browser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, try that.
For sure.
Yeah. So, whoops, your patterns have been useful and adaptive at some point. Okay, I'll try to catch that later, that link, as I can send it out. Yeah. And this is a really important point and this is why I say kind of like smile at your patterns, because they're not your enemy. and they're not trying to work against you. They're not trying to make your life worse. And in fact, they're trying to do the opposite. They're trying to protect you. They're trying to help you cope. And they were being very useful and very, very adaptive. You have an amazing nervous system that knew and knows how to respond to any threat in the environment. So let's look. But they might be working against you now. So we don't get through childhood without developing patterns, and just simply by being alive. We need to have patterns because we're always in interaction with our environment, with the people around us, and that's actually how our nervous systems get shaped. So something might be, if you find yourself in perfectionism, that it's really common. This need to keep on trying to get it right. I've just got to get it right. And sometimes you get stuck in indecision. What's the right way? What's the wrong way? Or I should be better than I am. I should be better. I should be different than I am. And that's usually characterized by a lot of shoulds. So if you see yourself there, you're certainly not alone there. Another characteristic that we find, and we've talked about this in lots of classes too, is the self-criticism, criticizing ourselves. And that is often a pattern, again, that's developed in childhood when we feel that perhaps, guilt or shame of having done something wrong, but we don't have the capacity to see outside of ourselves, to see that it's okay, it's all right to make mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with you. So you might find yourself asking, why can't I do this? Or where did I go wrong? And where this pertains to pain is also asking yourself, why me? What did I do that would cause my pain? So just be aware of that thought pattern. Another characteristic that is really interesting to really notice in yourself is intensity. And intensity is kind of a broad term, but you might find yourself, this is really normal with pain, unable to kind of let go of symptoms and allow yourself to even just be, or allow yourself even to enjoy, without being hypervigilant and scanning yourself for symptoms. And also, part of this journey is definitely, seeking answers, seeking solutions, because we have to go up that. We're not going to just leave it and say, well, it's okay to have pain. Our nervous systems don't work that way. But after a period of time, if you find yourself still seeking answers, still seeking solutions, and there's nothing wrong with that, I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's taking up all of your time, then it's going to start working against you. Yeah, Mark, do you have anything to say about that one? Or I've got one more here. But...
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that looking for solutions, answers the whole time, unable to just almost sort of accept or make peace with the way things are at the moment, takes up so much time, and it's often a fruitless exercise. It just takes up a lot of space and time. It doesn't really get you anywhere.
And it's very worrying.
It's very worrying.
It's staying in that nervous system response.
Yeah, because with it comes a lot of energy, right? A lot of energy is spent, and that energy, has to go somewhere. So often you find, when you can't, because a lot of what we teach is like looking at where you are and being present in the moment. But if you can't just be present, if you're always looking, searching, oh this, oh that, or self-criticism, it's so much energy, which is unfortunately going to perpetuate your pain patterns.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that pain feeds into that cycle.
Absolutely.
And so if you're finding yourself in that pattern, you're definitely not alone.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing to watch out for is blame or those feelings of anger and helplessness. Now, this is very different than having an experience, and pardon me, Mark, I'll talk about like it just, often people have frustrating experiences in their past along this journey with healthcare providers, until they land in a place where they feel, seen and heard. And those feelings of anger or blame, or let's just separate it out a little bit here. If you stay stuck in blame that happened back then, that would be an indication to look at some of the emotions that are underneath that, like anger, like not feeling heard, not feeling seen. But and that's a real healing point for anyone. But if you're stuck in the blame or finger pointing at someone else, and this is not minimizing anyone's experience, but that really keeps us revved up and stuck in the past and helpless.
I mean, you're right. You're not blaming or finger pointing. You're just pointing out what it does to you and your nervous system. Another example is, the healthcare system is not perfect. The other system that's not perfect is WCB or ICBC, and I'm not saying give up, but I mean, if you choose to focus on your WCB, ICBC worker, and they are not, I mean, they need to do things for you, but I see so many people, and I have to say this delicately, but they are so angry because their worker hasn't treated them well. And I'm not saying you have to just forget about that, but if that's going to be your focus as opposed to moving on and helping yourself, you're going to get stuck in a spiral, which is not funny.
Yeah.
It becomes all about what the worker didn't pick up or what. And I'm not trying to minimize anything for anybody, but I mean, your anger or your frustration with whoever is treating you is not going to change the situation that you're actually in. You still have the same situation. So if you choose to focus on that, you're spending energy which you could be focusing on moving through some of your chronic pain. Rather, you kind of get stuck in that situation. And I mean, some people have been deeply hurt and mistreated by either WCB adjusters, ICBC, physicians, etc., etc. I'm not saying just forget about them. Oh, it doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, if it's like, if you're in a relationship, do you want to resolve the conflict in the relationship and move through, or do you want to get stuck in the conflict? Because if you choose to just go around and around the conflict, that's what you're going to live.
Yeah. Yeah, and in those situations, because I also have seen so many people be dragged through processes that are so stressful. And if you're in the middle of it, big compassion to you and get support to help you through that. And if it's done and it's over, then you might need help actually healing that situation.
Because that can be traumatic in itself. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes interactions with adjusters, insurance adjusters, healthcare providers can actually be a traumatic event if things are not addressed appropriately in a professional way.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, if it is stuck in your nervous system, you are the only one that can heal that, and in the best way possible for you. So all of these patterns that we're talking about, these ones here, they look pretty normal when trying to get better and heal chronic pain. So sometimes we have a certain way of dealing with things that looks like this is the way, like this is the appropriate way to deal with this. And I want you to just kind of step back for a moment and just take a deep breath and see if there is a way that you are clinging to as the way. And, it's like, say, if somebody, say it's just an example, somebody yells one person might get angry at them. The next person might be very concerned about them. And the third person might not notice at all. So there are different ways to reacting to the very same situation. And whatever you're finding in yourself, that is valid, it's true, it's your reaction, and it is yours. So I hope that makes sense. And the beauty of that is that it is yours to heal. Oops. So they are effective. They're very effective ways to distract or to avoid underlying emotions and emotional healing, and take you out of your own healing power that each and every one of you have. So when we find these patterns on top, with that, there might be something underneath that we can take advantage of as a clue for our own emotional healing. And when we're emotionally healing, we are physically healing. So all the ways that our nervous system tries to avoid suffering, that is very natural, of course, normal, that's how we've survived, can actually create more suffering. So let's unpack this a little bit more. When we have,
Sorry, just a thought there, something I think you had said a long time ago, pain is real, suffering is optional. And it goes to certain situations. You can be in pain, but the emotional baggage that comes with that, if there's more choice involved in suffering. There's no choice involved in pain. Your brain perceives what it perceives, but everything that goes with it, the suffering, they're different. Pain and suffering are very different. And I think that's worth just thinking about for a second.
Yeah, it's what we unwittingly pack on top of it, that we all do. Do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So here we go. When we have pain, when we have a pain signal, our brain interprets it as danger, as you know. And if if you want to know more about that, please join us in Empowered Relief or some of our other webinars. We get absolutely a spike in anxiety, and we should, when we get a danger signal. This results in an uncomfortable physical sensation, naturally alerting us to danger. And here's the part where familiar negative behavioral patterns come in. That was a mouthful. Familiar negative behavioral patterns. So it might be I see some people talking about, you want to run like hell, or withdraw, or all kinds of blame, all those patterns that we have that happens so quick that, through this class and maybe through mindfulness, we might be able to just get a little bit of space around that behavioral pattern.
Right. And that's what I mean by the suffering part, the behavioral pattern that goes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you want to see what's happening down here at the bottom of the spiral. It's really worth looking at, because we want to know if you're reinforcing the danger for yourself, or if you're doing something, shifting a little bit in a way that helps your brain to not, like Mark said, sort of pile on more suffering. All right. So these familiar negative behavioral patterns, and I took that directly from pain reprocessing therapy. I did not come up with that name myself. So they can develop simply as a protective or coping strategy for living with pain, right? What the things we do to survive, or they can also amplify your strategies that you learn to survive early in life. And these are largely unconscious patterns, patterns in response to underlying emotions. And this is where the unconscious rules. And we think that we're self-sabotaging. And I saw some people talking about self-blame. That's really natural when, we're trying to shift or change something. We can't seem to do it. We blame ourselves for thoughts and behaviors. Maybe it could be something as simple as overeating or having angry outbursts. And we really, I really want to take the guilt and the shame out of that and just really give so much credit to all of you who have who have tried to shift and change and still, and maybe have had some success in that. And to take out the self-blame for the parts where it's very difficult. And this is where our unconscious comes into play. So let's go back to that for a minute. Our natural reactions to pain. And if you have a pen and paper, if you're one of those people that take notes, you might just jot down what stands out for you about yourself. So often we'll go into fight, and that could outwards, criticize, blaming others, anger, or we flight. I saw someone said like escape or run away. We withdraw, we lash in at ourselves, we blame ourselves, or depression. Freeze is when we go into shutdown or go into a fear response, kind of numb out, dissociate from ourselves. And then the fawn response is the feeling guilty. Oh, so fawn. Over giving to others, people pleasing reactions. And if you have noticed yourself right there, that's a success. And these are all nervous system reactions to a feeling of not being safe. They're natural reactions to fear or other emotions such as shame, helplessness, or anxiety. Different ones can happen at different times. Yeah. So take note of what you tend to do, and maybe just note right now in your life. So all we ever have to do is just notice what's happening for you now in any given moment. So you might go back to, well, I used to really get angry, but then I withdrew for a long time and now I'm in freeze. Okay, that's okay. It doesn't mean they've all added up in your own library, but look at what cycle you're in right now. And now we can get more specific so you can see how it might show up, so you can have something tangible to take away. And the whole idea being that if you can see it, you don't have to be it. So if you can see what's happening, if you can observe yourself, like there I go, people pleasing, or there I just went, fawning again, or there I withdrew. There's no self-criticism here, but it's like a beautiful piece of information for you. And then you can start to slow it down, maybe with some deep breathing, some grounding and centering. And next time, you might catch it a bit earlier. Okay, so I just want to check in here. Yeah, at different times. So, yeah. But awesome. Awesome, Jesse. That's so good to hear that. Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, isn't that a nice word? Fawn. I kind of, yeah, such a nice word. Fawning. Yeah, trying this. And so it's one thing to observe, and I'll move on with what to do, because it might not be doing as much as you think it might be. So all of this work that we're talking about requires, first and foremost, some curiosity and some self-compassion. So you're all here. So I already know this about you, that you're curious about this. So you're curious about personality patterns. And that is a really great quality going into this work. It's almost like looking around, getting into a new room, like opening up a door, maybe looking around and just seeing what's there without judging it. And when, I'm going to read this quote from the Tao Te Ching. So one does not walk into the forest and accuse the trees of being off center, nor do they visit the shore and call the waves imperfect. So why do we look at ourselves this way? So I want you to just think about that the same way. The trees are not all the same. The trees are all different shapes and sizes, and the waves are all different, and so are you. And your only goal is really to be more of you, not like the tree that's next to you or the tree that you saw on Facebook that looked like they were having a great tree life. But it's only ever, if you're an oak tree, you're an oak tree and you're not a birch, right? So if we can go into this with that idea of being curious about your own self. So when you find a pattern or an emotion, treat it with respect. And I also put there love. And if that feels like too much, just simply smile, right? Just simply smile at it. Like, yeah. So now we're going to get even more specific. Now we have kind of the frame that we're looking at. We're looking at through the frame of curiosity, of self-compassion, and that we're all on this journey of, I love being perfectly imperfect together. So the perfectionist can be a biggie because it was created at a time when being good in order to stay safe was necessary. And, I've talked about this triangle of having a loud inner critic is natural. As naturally, one cannot be perfect. Perfectly imperfect, perfectly good enough would be great phrases to take away. So it leads into this never-ending cycle of how I should be, because how I am is not okay, right? And again, something we learn, and it's probably helped you. It might have helped you to achieve and do all kinds of things in your life. But often with things like pain and emotional healing, it's probably not that helpful. And gaining approval in other people's eyes and never allowing yourself to be just as you are. And that's a big shift. So the healing around this pattern, if as I'm talking, you're seeing yourself, please, put on a smile on your face. Let go of the pattern. And a smile doesn't mean that that you're love this pattern, but it just means like, I see myself. The healing comes with letting go of the pattern and moving into neutral when you feel yourself getting anxious about this. Okay. So just moving into neutral. I see myself shooting on myself. I'm going to just move into neutral and see it. I'm not going to react to it. I'm just going to notice it. You might feel the emotions underneath because they might rise to be felt and healed. That's what's happening. You're not doing anything wrong. When those emotions come up, that's one of the mistakes we often make, is that we misinterpret the emotions coming up as something bad is going on here. Often when we step out of our patterns, there's going to be emotions. We'll just put that on the table right now, because that's the reason that you have the pattern in the first place. Allowing yourself to feel exactly as Avery just said, good enough. I'm good enough. Okay, good enough for this moment. Not perfect, but I sure as heck am good enough. And, these emotions come to the light that are underneath the perfectionist, maybe grief, guilt, anxiety, shame, the feelings of unworthiness. They all tend to come up into the light when we stop the pattern. And here's a great place to just sit with it, to just sit and see what you need. That experience, you need that experience of knowing that if I don't move to people pleasing or, trying to be perfect here, I will still survive. I don't have to do it all. I don't have to fix everybody and myself. And let's see with this one person if I can not do the pattern and show myself that I will still survive. The antidote is self-compassion and forgiveness of yourself. Forgiveness of yourself, and it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or you've committed a crime. It means forgiving yourself for being human, for being a learning, growing human that makes mistakes. Yeah. And some of the mantras that can be helpful are, I am perfectly good enough, or I'm doing the best I can here. Okay. And, if you have a crazy little person inside of you, like Nicole says, you might have a little conversation with her and tell her that, hey, I'm doing the best I can here, and see how that feels. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that before I move on to the next?
No, I think that for the perfectionist is super important, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a human. I make mistakes. I'm doing the best I can. I'm good enough. Otherwise, you just beat yourself up, and for what? It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The next one we're going to look at is the freeze, the numb or the helplessness feeling that we can also get stuck in. And this was also created at a time where it was impossible to fight or flight, or was too difficult or too stressful. And again, with pain that persists, we can often find ourselves there where it's like, I've tried everything. I can't do anything more. And sometimes there is nothing more to do. You might find yourself saying, no one can help me with this, or there's nothing else. There's nothing I can do. So if you can just feel the energy about that, around that, it's like a helplessness. It might come with the feelings of numbness, of disconnection, of almost unrealness. I don't know if that's a word, unrealness, like a feeling of not being connected, maybe to yourself or to the people around you. You might feel out of control of your own time, your own life, kind of at the mercy of other people, not able to kind of have agency around yourself. So I see a few people identifying with this. And what I want to offer you here with the freeze is to actually, and this can seem counterintuitive when you have a body that's uncomfortable, but to actually come back right into your breath, into your own body, to start feeling your feet. And what's helpful in the freeze, okay, here's the thing where if you find yourself saying, there's nothing else, there's nothing I can do here, I am stuck. I'm stuck. Stuck is a thought. It can come with a feeling, but in that moment, start moving. Okay, so start actually moving your body. It might be just to stretch. It might be to shake out your legs and your arms. It might be to even move in a way that you haven't moved, to start melting that freeze response. I'm stuck is a thought. It can also be a feeling, but your body can still move. And sometimes that can shake us out of the rigidity of the freeze response. Because freeze, when I think of freeze, I think of like an ice cube, right? And as we start to move, breathe, move your shoulders, maybe some, arm circles, we start to get a little bit more fluid. Yeah. And then ground and center in your body again. Okay, so it's going to be a process of coming back to yourself. So right now, if you're identifying with breathe, you might try this right now. You might try rubbing your hands together and bringing your hands even to yourself to notice your own body is right here, right now. And to just start feeling through that sense of touch, your own body. And I see some other mantras coming up. I've put a few mantras here, like I am here. I am here in my body. I can always take the next best step. There's always something small that you can do during those feelings of helplessness. Pattern. Okay, let's take one more pattern. So I'm going to look at this pattern that sometimes can be kind of similar to the perfectionist, but it's the rigid pattern, the intensity that comes with like all or nothing or striving to do the next best thing. Really, it sometimes means control, right? Sometimes mean I have to control what happens here in myself, and I have to control what happens in my medical care. This is a real, can be a really helpful pattern in some ways. It can motivate you, but it can also really unwittingly work against you. Might be controlling other people, right? Yeah, this one can get us in a lot of trouble. So just notice if you have a difficult time letting go in general, in maybe letting go of one particular thing, letting other people have agency over their own lives. What are other ways we get stuck with control? Letting things unfold today, having to control what happens, a month from now, today, without just letting it unfold in general. If it's hard for you to feel out of control, this is an exhausting one to control everything all the time. Your emotions, your sensations, and everything around you. Does anybody putting their hand up for this one? I see a few people raise their hands. Mm-hmm. This one, it's exhausting, right? And it unwittingly, this one definitely works against us because in effect, here's the bad news and the good news, but there's often very little that we can actually control other than ourselves. There's very little that we can control. And sometimes there's a little bit of freedom in knowing that. And sometimes a lot of anxiety. So if that's you right now, I'm going to encourage you to just see if right now, for just a minute, you can give yourself a break. Let go. And right now in this moment, let life be exactly as it is, because it is. So right now, becoming aware of the moment without controlling it. Right now. Don't even control your breaths. Don't even try to take a deep breath. Just letting your breath do what your breath is doing. So as you're breathing, let it be. Allow. I'm safe. And it's okay to do nothing. It's okay right now to do nothing. It's okay to let life be as it is. It's a little experiment to take with you, if this one feels like you. Okay. So this is the second last slide. So with that, I'm going to go right into, into a guided exercise for about 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up. So I need to pull something else up here. Is the slide still up there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so just for 2 minutes, For those of you that have noticed, or just maybe something got churned up here around your own wonderful, amazing, surviving personality, to make yourself comfortable. And if you want, you can let your eyes go closed. See if you can pay attention to a physical sensation in your body right now that feels nice. So maybe it's your breath. Maybe it's a warm sensation in your stomach or light feeling in your arms. Now, all you need to do is recognize when your mind tries to gravitate towards a fearful thought, pressure thought, or trying to figure something out. Or maybe there's a sensation that feels unpleasant. But remember, these sensations are physical manifestations of fearful thoughts. And all you need to do is say, okay, oh, I see. This is my brain's way of trying to bring me into a state of fear, of preoccupation, of worry. Not because my brain is trying to hurt me, but because this is familiar to me. This is a familiar home to me. But I'm not going to ingrain this path today any further. Today, I'm not going to reinforce that pattern. I'm going to take the road less traveled. And then just lean into a physical sensation in your body that feels nice. Maybe your chest, stomach, your breath. And right now, letting the moment be as much as you can, trusting that that urge to engage in negative thinking or fear or pattern, that will pass. That will pass, and you will still be here. So allowing yourself, it's kind of like going to the beach on a stressful day to unwind, sitting here, watching the waves crash against the shore and going back into the ocean. You might find yourself interrupted by thoughts, what you need to do, who you need to fix, what you need to control, where you should be. But these thoughts and fears and worries are kind of like waves that come in and when they come and then they go. So you might get interrupted by a loud crash of the wave or by a sharp fishy smell from the ocean that you don't like. That's okay. That will come and go as well, and you will still be here. Sometimes the urge might be too strong, and you might engage in a fearful thought or pressure or pattern. That's okay. This you don't need to be perfect with. So it's just about beginning to recognize your brain's attempt to bring you to that familiar state. Catch the thought. Congratulate yourself. See it and smile. And now, rather than playing out that thought or pattern, actively choose to lean into a sensation that feels nice right now, trusting that the thought or feeling will pass, like waves that come and go on the ocean shore. And that is how you create a new default setting, one where your brain is okay with a feeling of calm. The more you create the new default setting, the more you do that, the stronger the default setting gets. You are learning to exist in a state where you don't need to fix something or figure something out right away. So take a couple more breaths. You're leaning into the sensation that feels nice, maybe picturing waves of the ocean, permitting yourself to be. So we're going to end this exercise here for now. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So I just wanted you to notice, to see what you noticed around letting things be. Got a picture of a calm ocean here. When you feel that pressure, the intensity, to move in to your patterns. And when you move into them and you do them, you smile because you've seen it. And remember, the more you see it, the more you don't have to be it. But we're not doing perfection here. And because slowly over time, you can start to release the patterns and to start to expand presence and freedom in the face of pain. Okay. So I'm just going to stop the share there, and we are being recorded, so you will get a recording if you want to go back and look at some of those patterns and just see where you land. But I wanted to open it up and see, Mark, if you have anything to add tonight.
No, I thought that was a really good exercise, just calming your nervous system. You know, it was pretty incredible. Do you still see my video? Because there we are. I disappeared for a second on my own screen. I was so calm, my screen disappeared.
It just disappeared.
It's like gone.
Yeah. I also find that this is a very valuable reminder of just what we unconsciously do in our lives automatically. And we all do it, you know, but particularly with pain, it's, you know, it becomes more important to start to notice these patterns. And you can actually use your experience of pain as a doorway to notice your patterns. Maybe that's a gift. I don't know. I'm not saying pain is a gift, but maybe it can be a doorway to start healing some of those old, perhaps childhood wounds and patterns that can unwittingly set you up for pressure and intensity and survival and fixing and all those good things. That you will still survive if you don't do them.
Yeah, it's. I mean, because what is your alternative? Your alternative is to stay stuck, right, in that cycle that just goes round and round. So that's not a great alternative. If you really think about it. So I mean, nobody's talking about changing your whole life immediately. I think it's a process, obviously, and the more you are aware of what's going on, the more you can look at things and slowly change. But if you're not even aware of what's happening, then how are you supposed to change, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So next time you get triggered, we'll end now, but next time you get triggered, if you can, when you notice it, see what your tendency is. And eventually you might start to thank your triggers for showing you where you still have left to heal. And that includes, you know, not just people in pain, but probably everybody in the world right now. So great. All right, we'll end there. And that's great. Nicole just went back to Cuba. First time in the ocean. Lovely, lovely. Well, may you all go away tonight with images of a nice peaceful ocean, waves coming and going, and you're not the wave. You're either surfing them or you're way down deep where it's quiet and calm. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. And absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Right. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Take care.